On this side of the House, we had already advertised that we are looking forward to about a cut of 3% of GDP. So we'll be looking forward to the expenditure cuts that he will present in his first budget, and we'll help him to achieve it. However, Mr. Speaker, whatever cuts we do, we should ensure that quality of projects are not being sacrificed. We should expect that ongoing projects that are delivering value to Ghanaians are not sacrificed. Yesterday, the Honorable Agboja at his vetting mentioned that commitment on roads is about 100 billion. That means about 100 billion worth of road projects ongoing. These cuts, we are hoping, will not lead to a stop of the major critical road and other infrastructure projects across the country. Mr. Speaker, the third thing he spoke about, which I want to briefly comment on, is debt management. That under his administration, they will do better in debt management. At the same time, he's considering taking some more money from the IMF. That's not a grant, that's debt. What is that debt going to do? Worsen our debt situation or improve it? So, Mr. Speaker, we'll be looking forward to these things and helping our brother Atto to achieve those objectives. And finally, the respected minority leader drew attention to the fact that when the president issued the EI on the ministries, he said Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. But when he issued the communication to the Speaker, he said Minister responsible for finance. We will urge our brother to avoid the trap of creating the impression that he is responsible for the economy. The minister responsible for fiscal policy, the minister responsible for finance, like my brother Ricketts knows, is the minister responsible for fiscal policy, not the whole economy. There are external economic developments that he doesn't have control over. There are things happening in the monetary policy space that he doesn't have control over. There are real sector economic issues in other areas that other ministers will be taking decisions and impacting the economy. He doesn't have control over that. So from our lessons, we wish them well. We will give them all the support that we can. If it works well for all of us. And with these few words, Mr. Speaker, we will support the motion that our brothers be approved to take up their position. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We will listen to Honorable Kojo Nkrumah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it appears that the NDC has a knack for three wise men. When President Mills was in power, he had his three wise men. And President Mahama appears to have started off with his three wise men, our brothers who have been nominated and who have performed creditably when they appeared before the Appointments Committee. Dr. Ayine was Deputy Attorney General when I was called to the bar. He actually handed me my qualified certificate of law. His track record is well known and well respected. We wish him well. He's not only going to be Attorney General, he's also going to be Minister responsible for justice. And Mr. Speaker, justice is a subject that across the country many people still look forward to. Court infrastructure, residences for magistrates and judges, the kind of budget that must go there, the availability of lawyers for legal aid to ensure that justice is done in the nooks and crannies of this country. These are things that we expect Dr. Ayine, in addition to other functions, to pay attention to, and we wish him well. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable John Jinapor, our brother, is well versed in the subject of energy and finance. He has offered a lot of explanations about take or pay and things that have gone on in the past. Mr. Speaker, no matter the explanations you give, and I speak as a former member of cabinet, a few lessons that we can share with our colleagues. No matter the explanations that you give, what the people of Ghana are waiting for is that fuel prices don't go up, the electricity prices don't go up, the fuel is available at the pumps, that the lights don't go off. We wish our brother well, and we hope he delivers in that area. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Dr. Atto spoke about four things that I want to briefly comment on. One was on raising revenue. The Honorable Dr. Atto says that his target is to move tax to GDP ratio from 13% to about 18%. That's about 500 basis points. Mr. Speaker, 1% of GDP is about 10 billion Ghana cedis. So to move it from 13 to 18 is about 50 billion Ghana cedis. At a time when, as we have agreed across the political divide, some tax handles should be removed. E-levy, COVID, betting. E-levy and COVID alone, nothing less than 20 billion. So what he's promising us is that he's going to take away about 20 billion from the revenue handles, but still grow it by another 50. We are hoping that he will do that without introducing new taxes. or renaming some of the taxes. And whatever he will do in that area, we will support him and help him. If it works well and Ghana moves to 18% of GDP, it works well for all of us. Mr. Speaker, he spoke about expenditure cuts and says that he's committed to it. On this side of the House, we had already advertised that we are looking forward to about a cut of 3% of GDP. So we'll be looking forward to the expenditure cuts that he will present in his first budget, and we'll help him to achieve it. However, Mr. Speaker, whatever cuts we do, we should ensure that quality of projects are not being sacrificed. We should expect that ongoing projects that are delivering value to Ghanaians are not sacrificed. Yesterday, the Honorable Agboja at his vetting mentioned that commitment on roads is about 100 billion. That means about 100 billion worth of road projects ongoing. These cuts, we are hoping, will not lead to a stop of the major critical road and other infrastructure projects across the country. Mr. Speaker, the third thing he spoke about, which I want to briefly comment on, is debt management. That under his administration, they will do better in debt management. At the same time, he's considering taking some more money from the IMF. That's not a grant, that's debt. What is that debt going to do? Worsen our debt situation or improve it? So, Mr. Speaker, we'll be looking forward to these things and helping our brother Atto to achieve those objectives. And finally, the respected minority leader drew attention to the fact that when the president issued the EI on the ministries, he said Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. But when he issued the communication to the Speaker, he said Minister responsible for finance. We will urge our brother to avoid the trap of creating the impression that he is responsible for the economy. The minister responsible for fiscal policy, the minister responsible for finance, like my brother Ricketts knows, is the minister responsible for fiscal policy, not the whole economy. There are external economic developments that he doesn't have control over. There are things happening in the monetary policy space that he doesn't have control over. There are real sector economic issues in other areas that other ministers will be taking decisions and impacting the economy. He doesn't have control over that. So from our lessons, we wish them well. We will give them all the support that we can. If it works well for all of us. And with these few words, Mr. Speaker, we will support the motion that our brothers be approved to take.
To this edition, and we're going to start the program in 30 minutes. We could have started 15 minutes earlier, but news just broke that former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta's house has been ransacked by military, not police, military. And tonight we're happy to have more information to share with you as our first story. Later tonight, we'll be continuing with the story about the Honorable Foreign Minister. Congratulations to the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who started work today. I've seen the photographs. Beautiful, hale and hearty people at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But we will continue our public inquiry about the letter that he sent to Parliament indicating his residential status with the airport hills, etc., etc. Tonight, Julius Debra, the Chief of Staff, is indicating that people who have been employed by the outgone New Patriotic Party government after 7 January should be removed from office. We're going to ask the question whether the mandate of a government in Ghana under the 1992 Constitution ends on 7th December of the election year. That's the story now, because we also have Donko in the Attorney General to look at, and that's also coming up. Also, we have some work that you've seen already, some of it on social media, about the difficulty of the matter that occurred in Parliament relating to Dr. Rawlings and Parliament's continuous search of who said murder daughter of a murderer. We have an editorial on that story. We shared some of it already. We'll share the rest as well. And then a few more things coming up. Al-Hassan Bello will join us with a story, a disturbing story of how jihadists are mobilizing Ghanaian young people to overthrow the government of one of the most popular West African leaders in Ghana, Amadou Traoré, the Burkina Captain Amadou Traoré, the Burkina military leader of the military junta in Burkina Faso. Information reaching everywhere is that there's now a guerrilla movement preparing to attack Burkina Faso and to overthrow the government. This guerrilla movement is largely thought to be religiously motivated. They are jihadists who operate within the Mali-Burkina area. The question I'll be putting to Al-Hassan Bello is that Mahamadou Traore is Muslim. So I'm wondering why jihadists will be unhappy with the Muslim leadership in Burkina Faso. That's coming up on this edition of the show. But now, let's get to the touchscreen and get our facts out. So this evening, as news just broke, and you've seen it on many of the portals, that Ken Ofori-Atta, the gentleman in the center here, who has been finance minister for Ghana for 7 years, from 2017 to, I believe, 2022, and who was heavily criticized by the NDC, and who at some point had MPP members of parliament indicating to President Akufo-Addo to change him. Eventually, the president changed him for Mohamed Amin Anta. But Ken Ofori-Atta's house tonight has been raided, not by police, but by soldiers. Information reaching Good Evening Ghana indicates that the raid on Ken Ofori-Atta's house earlier this evening, Tuesday, what's today's date again? Tuesday, 10th February, Tuesday, 11th February, was carried out by soldiers. Okay, let me say the sentence again so that the prompter that I'm reading from is clear. And timer, please take it from here. Information reaching Good Evening Ghana suggests that the raid that has occurred at Ken Ofori-Atta's house earlier this evening, Tuesday, 11th February, was not conducted by police officers. It was conducted by military officers. Now, they don't know that somebody on the top of the building next door was filming, and that video has been made available to us. So, was filming how they entered, and then the video remained until they came out. What happened inside, the video couldn't capture because the person was on the building. The soldiers, those of you went there, you will see that to your left, there was a story building there. A very prominent person lives there, and she was concerned about what was happening. So she filmed it, and she sent it to us. So the video indicates soldiers, numbering about 15 of them. One of them is half camera, so we really couldn't check. But at least there are more than 10, numbering about 15 military soldiers, not police. They raided Ken Ofori-Atta's house at Cantonment earlier today. Now, everybody was pointing to Dr. Kufu Dampare. It's not about Dampare. It's not Dampare. Apparently, the Honorable Kisi Ajabin is responsible for this. And we don't know why. Kisi Ajabin is responsible for the raid on Ken Ofori-Atta's house this evening. Now, why are we saying this? Because we have now also seen letters that have been written from Kisi Ajabin to Ken Ofori-Atta, asking for Ken Ofori-Atta to be questioned on issues relating to SML contracts. Viewers, remember that, the famous or infamous SML contract. So Kisi Ajabin has written to Ofori-Atta, asking him to answer questions on the SML contract. I'm not so sure who asked him to do that, but the OSP can have a mandate originating from his table. He can originate a mandate based on the broad mandate that he has. He can originate a mandate and say that I'm coming to ask you questions. He can do that. So in exercise of that authority, Kisi Ajabin, the special prosecutor, wrote to Ken Ofori-Atta. Lawyers for Ofori-Atta responded to Kisi Ajabin indicating that the witness was not in town. Ken Ofori-Atta was not in town. He's in America on health grounds, and that they are able to answer questions on his behalf so long as he can produce the questions. Lawyers also promised that as soon as Ofori-Atta arrives in Ghana, they will submit him to the office of the special prosecutor. As far as the lawyers were concerned, this was the conclusion of the matter. Now, they were told today that their client's house has been raided by soldiers. Quickly, calls went to the police IGP, asking Dr. Dampare, what is all this about? Dr. Dampare is thinking about himself, and that's what he told them, that I have not sent anybody to raid anywhere. The people who went there were soldiers. I don't have control over soldiers. I just have control over police. So the military, and this is so I don't know whether the defense minister, Dr. Mani Boama, is aware. But please tell Dr. Mani Boama that I was mentioning his name. He's the minister for defense. And his soldiers, numbering over 10 of them, under the instructions of the office of the special prosecutor, as widely believed, raided Ofori-Atta's house today. Military, not police, military. They raided Ofori-Atta's house today, 3-4 hours ago. The story is on City FM. Let's get a glimpse of how Channel 1 and City FM put the story out, and then we take it from there. Do we have it's a very short story, though, because it's still running. Ken Ofori-Atta's home raided by individuals in military uniform. A group of individuals in military uniforms raided the residence of former finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta on Tuesday afternoon. The incident took place in Cantonment while Ofori-Atta was reportedly out of the country. However, some family members, including his wife, were present at the time. The motive behind the raid remains unclear. Channel 1 news sources confirm that multiple uniformed individuals entered the premises, but it is yet to determine whether anything was taken. Authorities have not issued an official statement on the incident. Now, we know that from the videos that were made available, when the soldiers were coming out, they were not holding anything that they didn't have when they were entering. And we checked that to be sure whether something was taken out, because we had already read the story before this lady sent us the video. So if you look at it, the way the soldiers entered, it looks like that's the same way they came out. So they didn't take anything. The question then is mandates, authority, warrants, all of those things come into play, because when the police are coming to your house to search you, let me have the photograph of the three of them again. When the police are coming to your house to search you, they would normally have a warrant. And in the police context, an individual high court judge can so moto, as they say in law, it means by himself, can so moto issue a warrant for your arrest. A high court judge can so moto and ex parte issue a warrant. Ex parte means they don't have to call you and come to the court. So moto means by himself. He doesn't need a motion. He can just do it upon his own motion when he's told that this person needs to be searched. So the police will normally do that. I believe that even under the rules, I think so, I stand to be corrected, that the Inspector General of Police can issue a warrant. I think so. The Inspector General of Police can issue a warrant, but the CDS cannot issue a warrant. The Chief of Defense Staff cannot issue a warrant over a civilian that they should go and search him. The Inspector General of Police can. So if the Chief of Defense Staff wants to search you with the soldiers, he has to go through the Inspector General of Police. But here's Kisi Ajabe, who walks around with soldiers protecting him. And I'm guessing that he sends soldiers to Ken Ofori-Atta's house to go and search him. There's a lot more on this story coming up on Thursday. So much more is going to come up on Thursday. Here's the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta and his wife, Angela. Honorable Ken, don't worry. We know that you have not done anything wrong. Sometimes you become finance minister, and in your quest to do things, some things can go wrong. Everybody is blaming you about DEP, debt exchange program, collapse of banking, and all that. But in due time, I'm sure posterity will see what you did, if you did something good, and I'm sure that you did something good. So that's Ken Ofori-Atta. Say a prayer for him tonight, because he's under Kisi Ajabe's radar. Here is Ken Ofori-Atta and the learned Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams. I'm not sure when this photograph was taken, but this is the Archbishop who I'm going to talk about tonight, because he had a stupendous prayer session in Parliament today. And I'm going to talk about what the Archbishop told the MPs when he was praying for them. That's coming up. So that's the Archbishop, that's Ken Ofori-Atta, and that is Angela Ofori-Atta in an old photograph. Pray for Ken. Papa, you got to pray for Ken, you know. You got to pray for your man, because he's under Kisi Ajabe's radar. And Papa, this Kisi Ajabe guy has soldiers around him. And even though he was looking for Ken to answer questions, he was told by Ken's lawyers that Ken is not there. Papa, you know what he did? He sent soldiers to Ken's house. Papa, you got to pray for him. You got to pray for Ken Ofori-Atta right now. And all Ghanaians got to pray for Ken Ofori-Atta right now. Okay. What is he singular name? I don't know. Okay, great. So yes, I told you that I have a video of Papa. We'll deal with it. We'll deal with it later. So this is the story. This is the breaking story. Tonight is 22 minutes to the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. This is Good Evening Ghana and is live. Ken Ofori-Atta's house has been raided by Kisi Ajabe, the special prosecutor, getting soldiers into the house. Kisi Ajabe has been looking for Ken Ofori-Atta. He's written to him and he's invited Ofori-Atta to come and answer questions on SML. Ofori-Atta's lawyers have told him that he's not in town. Nonetheless, soldiers went there, and don't forget, this story has more to come on Thursday. Our ITI request is still pending before the office of the special prosecutor. We are going to deal with it. All right, that's story one. The other day, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, the government's minister for communication, minister of state responsible for government communication, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, was speaking to Bernard Avle on TV on Point of View. It's a program on Channel 1 TV that I don't miss on Mondays and Wednesdays. So you're speaking to Bernard Avle on Point of View, and he said something. I'm guessing that Bernard wanted to know the future of the IGP, because, you know, the IGP is very popular among a certain group of people. So I'm guessing that Bernard wanted to know the future of the IGP. The way Felix Kwakye-Ofosu spoke, it suggested that Dampare has come to the end of his career. Here's the video.
What is the view about Dampare?
Well, I don't have any personal views about him. As I speak, I don't know of evidence of specific wrongdoing against him. He does not need to have done wrong for him to be changed. You understand the point I'm making? So if he is changed, it's not because he's done some wrong.
What is the view about Dampare?
Well, I don't have any personal views about him. As I speak, I don't know of evidence of specific wrongdoing against him. He does not need to have done wrong for him to be changed. You understand the point I'm making? So if he is changed, it's not because he's done some wrong.
What is the view about Dampare?
Well, I don't have any personal views about him. As I speak, I don't know of evidence of specific wrongdoing against him. He does not need to have done wrong for him to be changed. You understand the point I'm making? So if he is changed, it's not because he's done some wrong.
So, yeah, that's what Felix Kwachio Fosu said. That's what he told Bernard Avle on the City TV, City Point of View. That's what he told Bernard. So, Dr. Dampare, how are you? I hope that Felix Fosu Kwachio's statement, which seems to be indicating towards a release of Dampare from the IGP position. But if you release a Dampare from the IGP position, you probably are sending him abroad as an ambassador, Ghana's ambassador somewhere. Doc, I know that you want to keep the job. I think you'll be able to keep it because you're a good man. But the people who are in power make the decisions. So, Archbishop, is the Archbishop around? Papa, can you also pray for Dampare? You got to pray for him because Fosu Kwachio says he hasn't done anything wrong. But the president may just decide that he wants to make some changes at the police headquarters. All that is very interesting. Okay, let's have the next story. Is it Dr. Zaneto Rawlings? What photograph are we going to use to that story? Okay, they're going to give me a photograph soon. I don't know whether they have one. But yes, the story comes up in Parliament where last week somebody said that, so this is the story. There was a motion admitted by the Speaker for the remembrance of 60th anniversary since the death of the doyen of Ghanaian politics, Dr. Dankwa. So during the presentation, Murtala Mohammed, who was speaking to the motion, also mentioned that it has to come on record that the said Dr. Dankwa, whilst we eulogize his thinking and his work and his processes about democracy in the 1930s and 40s for the future of the Gold Coast, that we also need to recognize, according to Murtala's statement before Parliament, that the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States, the CIA, had also used Dankwa to undermine the Republic of Ghana. This did not go down well with the apostles and apologists of Dankwa in the House. Of course, on the other side, the mighty minority from Dankwa's stock. So they were concerned and started talking. The story is told that Dr. Rawlings made certain comments in support of Murtala's argument that Dankwa was a CIA agent. This is the story. That Dr. Rawlings made some comments in support of Murtala's statement. And you know, if you go to Parliament's chamber, on television, it looks like they are very far apart. But in the chamber, they are not that far apart. That's the thing. When we watch it on television, you think they are no, they are not far apart at all. When you go into the chamber, you see that it's not very, very far. So how would you know? Let me show you how you know that it's not far. When the president has given a sessional address, count how many steps he takes from the top before he gets to the minority leader, and you will see that it's not a very long distance. So somebody apparently heard her, somebody from the Dankwa side, heard her saying these things, and then that person, then unfortunately, it's very, very unfortunate what that person said, retorted that you are a daughter of a murderer, so you can't talk about Dankwa that way. This is the story that we have been told. After that, commentary started generally around the country. We have picked up Black Rasta's comments. Black Rasta is a musician who is a conscious speaker, and he's also a Rastafarian. Now, Black Rasta, the conscious speaker, went on a tangent of analyzing parts of Ghana's history and indicating that the so-called tag on Flight Lieutenant Rawlings as a murderer may not be far-fetched. Black Rasta, however, recognized that there are other things that JJ has done. So all of this we put together with a video from Adabuga, who had appeared at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, incidentally set up by Nana Akufo-Addo and John Ajekum Kufuor, to speak about how he, in his life as a operative of the PNDC, as a corporal in the army, how much executions were conducted under the aegis of J.J. Rawlings. We put all together an editorial. We finished the editorial by saluting J.J. as we should, but also trying to tell Ghanaians about the kind of history that we should preserve. Here is the editorial. A lot is happening in Ghana, isn't there? So much happening. We've all heard about what happened in Parliament. Zanetta Rawlings, somebody called her, made a cut call of something very ugly. Parliament is looking for it, and the Anglo chiefs have given the speaker a deadline to be able to say who did it so that the person is punished. Majority members have expressed concern that what was said was wrong. Minority has expressed similar concern. Now, here is our Good Evening Ghana opinion on the matter.
We now have freedom. Ghana, land of freedom. Toils of the brave and the sweat of their labors. Toils of the brave which have brought results.
Let's begin this conversation with a very poignant video that I saw Black Rasta do. Let me just tell you who are these. Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, Lieutenant Richard Addo. Later he became, I think, a Brigadier General, somebody I know well. Used to come to my house. And when I was small, not my house, but where I lived when I was small. Not my house, but where I lived when I was small. Okay. So I've seen a very poignant video from Black Rasta. My friend at TV3, Black Rasta, the one who was famous for the song that he did on Barack Obama, Barack. He's introduced a new album that we are all enjoying. Listen to Black Rasta.
Was he a saint? Was Rawlings a prophet? Have we so soon forgotten our history? The bloodiest coup d'etat that ever happened in this nation was instituted by Rawlings. He killed many in order to become leader of this nation. Is that not a murderer? So I am wondering why there's so much noise.
Yes, that was Black Rasta. Quite poignant, but this is a very sensitive conversation we're going to have. This is our Good Evening Ghana opinion on what happened in Parliament. Let's go back to Black Rasta. It's slightly longer than what you've seen. He delved into it in some detail, and we'll come back on the touch screen and then present all of our analysis on this matter about what happened in Parliament. It was quite unfortunate, and we do condemn it. Here's Black Rasta again.
Why can't we speak the truth anymore? What is wrong with us? Zenator is the daughter of a murderer. That is correct. But does that make her a murderess? No. She cannot inherit the crimes of her father. Do we understand that? But that does not mean she is not a daughter of a murderer. She is. Let us call a spade a spade. Should we call Zenator the daughter of a pastor, or the daughter of a reverend, or the daughter of a saint? No, we saw the bloodiest violence in this country in the reign of Rawlings. The person who called Zenator the daughter of a murderer, was he right or wrong? My brother, my sister, in the days of Rawlings, we suffered terror. Those of you who were not yet born in 1979, we saw horror in this country. People were abducted and killed summarily. We saw judges abducted and set ablaze. My brother, my sister, the mystery of which, my brother, my sister, is still pending in the clouds. Rawlings denied involvement, yet it happened in his regime. In the regime of Rawlings, we saw women in Kajetia market stripped naked and whipped in their vaginas. We saw people abducted and taken to the Gonda barracks and some other such barracks and shaved with blunt instruments and blades. We saw, my brother, my sister, people who were carried away and beaten, most of whom we were told were dead, and carried all the way to the morgue at 37. One of them finally survived. He went on to move into exile and later came back into this country to become a minister of energy. Do we all remember this person? It was all in the days of Rawlings. Can we run away from the heinous crimes of Rawlings in his regime from 1979? The several murders and bloodshed. And even at the time, Ghanaians were asking Rawlings to let more blood flow. How do you let blood flow when you don't murder people? Rawlings was a murderer. It's the truth. What are you running away from? So when people die, when murderers die, they all of a sudden become saints? Is that what you are saying? Because we live in a country where Attayi all of a sudden will become Saint Attayi because he's dead. Say no bad thing about the dead. That is your motto. Until we start to shame the dead, like they did in Belgium when Leopold II died and they threw his dead body right in the middle of the street for people to hoot at and spit at. My brother, my sister, crime and foolishness will never ever stop in this country. Was he a saint? Was Rawlings a prophet? Have we so soon forgotten our history? The bloodiest coup d'etat that ever happened in this nation was instituted by Rawlings. He killed many in order to become leader of this nation. Is that not a murderer?
That was very harsh. Black Rasta was very, very harsh, wasn't he? Anyway, now, since the issue broke, people have been talking. So this is Matthew Adabuga. Have a look.
So the point is I feel guilty that innocent people, not only soldiers, the 260 people who got missing, most of them are there and other places which they know. You see, that doesn't mean...
Can you tell me some of the other places?
If you are going to the range, you understand, some of them are there, that Teshi range area. And if you are going to the airport, especially the Air Force boys, they call that place Agege. They were buried there discriminately there. You see, those Air Force boys were reckless. There was even one of them who he took into his own accord, and he was shooting. So Rawlings made a mistake and went and shot somebody who was related to Rawlings. And then Rawlings told me to go and shoot him. And I said, why? What has he done? It's called W2 Kingston or Kingsley. Kingston. Okay. So it was one Boachi who went and shot him, called Boachi of Air Force. They went to a funeral.
The killing was just too much.
It was what they call collateral. They call it collateral damage.
The Holy War?
Well, there's nothing called holy, but you can give it any name, unless otherwise you can just brainwash the people like they did to us. So they say it was holy, which it wasn't holy. It wasn't only Ashantis who died or Northerners, everyone to die. So it was across board.
That was one of the makers of the coup. So this brings me to the conversation, viewers. This is our opinion. Presidents come and presidents go. We want to build a future for our country. Shouldn't we make a decision that when we are evaluating President Nkrumah, Prime Minister Buzia, Champon, all of them, let's start here. This is Dr. Nkrumah. Dr. Nkrumah did many, many good things. Winning independence for Ghana, But Dr. Nkrumah also ended up with some things that were not good at all. Should we say that because he did good things and some things we didn't like, or posterity has demonstrated that he shouldn't have done them, should we say we won't talk about it? I think it's wrong. Going forward, we are gaining new leaders, and we're going to be having leaders for the future. Let's ensure that whatever good thing Nkrumah did, we keep. Whatever bad thing Nkrumah did, we say never again. And before we can say never again, we have to state it. The Preventive Detention Act was a human rights abuse. The dictatorial tendencies of Osajef was clear. So we can talk about that, but also remember that he did some very good things and say them as well. So if you take Nkrumah off there, you have General Ankara, they're cool people, very little to say about them. So let's move on to, Afrifa was one of them as well. They did some good things. Now here's Prime Minister Buzia, elected by the people of Ghana. Buzia did many, many good things. But there were some things that Buzia did that he shouldn't have done. For instance, his statement about no court was undermining a nascent democracy. When he lost the case in court, he came to explain. He had a great explanation, but the term no court can do this to me shouldn't have come. It affected our democracy and eventually he got overthrown. The other thing he did that was bad, maybe not just him, with his group of people, preventing Kwame Nkrumah from running in 1969 elections as a member of parliament was not good. It divided the nation. It didn't give the nation national unity. It obscured unity. It obscured democracy. And Nkrumah was happy to come and contest election as an ordinary Ghanaian. His government has been overthrown. He wants to run the election as a member of parliament, which he had been before. Buzia said, no, That was wrong. So we say the things that Busia did that were good, the things that he did that was wrong, it is wrong. Never again. We don't want to do it again. Let's roll on and see. Edward Akufo-Addo was with Busia. So Busia's correctness is with him. His sins are with him. Kutu Achampon Ignatius, our man, Lieutenant General Akufo. This is Hilary Liman, elected president of Ghana. Hilary Liman was there for just 2 years. The major sin against Liman was that his government was overthrown. During the period of Liman did some good things. He did some bad things. So whatever bad things, we don't cover it up. We talk about it so that for the future, it's a never again. That's the whole conversation. Now here's Fly Lieutenant Rawlings. Rawlings did some good things. Rawlings did some good things. Rawlings gave us the 1992 constitution. Rawlings gave us the democratic stability. If Rawlings didn't win the election of 92 or didn't present himself for it and somebody else had won and Rawlings was lurking in the back, he was a very popular politician in those days, he could have easily overthrown the constitution. But he didn't do that. He offered himself to run, gave the constitution stability. Kufuor came in, there were some difficulties with him, but it was okay. Today we have a stable constitutional arrangement that we are thinking of amending. It doesn't mean that Rawlings didn't execute or didn't participate in certain bad things. There were some very, very bad things that happened in Rawlings' time. 3 judges were abducted and murdered. Yao Boachi, my relative, the Air Force commander, he was murdered. He was killed at the range. Yao Boachi had saved Rawlings' career. Air Vice Marshal Yao Boachi, there he is. He saved Rawlings' career. J.J. Rawlings' career as a military officer was going down the drain. Yao Boachi was the base commander in Accra in those days, so he knew Rawlings well. Later on, he became the Air Force commander appointed by Achampon. He saved J.J. Rawlings' career. J.J. Rawlings became president and he killed him. That's what we don't want to say again. So to all of these things, we say never again. And we also have to learn to communicate it. We don't communicate it by shouting at somebody that you're a daughter of a murderer. We communicate it by properly documenting it and talking about it, whether it's Dankwa. Where is Akufo-Addo in the picture? This is J.A. Kufuor. J.A. Kufuor did many good things. But there were some things that he did that would not be good. I don't have time to talk about all of them, but certainly he's not a saint. So we pick up the great things that Kufuor did, and we pick them up and say that this one was wrong. Here is Professor Mills. He did some good things. Unfortunately, he passed. But if there were some things he did that was bad, the fact that Mills has passed doesn't mean we should cover up. We should raise it, say that this what Professor Mills did that was bad. Never again should any leader do that. If we build up the never agains and we're able to obey the never agains, 50 years from now, we'll have a more solid democracy and a more solid country. Yes, President Mahama, the first time he came, did good things. There were some things that were bad. He himself acknowledged them. He's president again today. He says that the things I did that were bad, I won't do them again. He came in, he had 90 or so ministers. Now he says, I want to have 60 ministers. It means he himself has recognized that in his first coming, there were some things he did that were bad. So we don't cover those things up. Whether he's dead or he's alive, we can't cover them up. Here is my favorite, Adodankwa Akufo-Addo. Many good things. But there are some things that we are still talking about. The state was asking chiefs to stand up and it was not good. There are some things that happened that were not good. Not everybody will have everything that is good. But Adodankwa Akufo-Addo gave a sterling show that people did not agree with, but we can find out later. So there are some great things he did that was good. There are some things that he did that wasn't good. Should we say that we will not talk about, even those of us who are apologists of Akufo-Addo, should we say we cannot talk about those things that are bad? Yes, we can talk about them. How do we communicate it? We don't go to Parliament and shout, daughter of a murderer. That's not the way to do it. But we also don't have to recognize that the history of our country should be obscured. No one should try to obliterate the ugly history of this country, the ugly past of this country. If we do that, we obliterate it, we'll go back to it again. We have to expose it, ventilate it, and tell ourselves never again. That's the end of our... We are still live, but that was recorded earlier today. Or was it yesterday? Earlier yesterday. We do a lot of work in this studio. We're going to be developing a lot of videos that you will see on YouTube that may not be on TV. You see on Facebook that may not be on TV. As the stories come thick and fast, we always cannot wait for our program schedule on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We are talking to the new Metro TV management. And there's a new MD of Metro TV. It's called Klaus von Bakustein. Congratulations to my brother Klaus von Bakustein. He is now the managing director of Metro TV. Klaus von Bakustein has a long history in media. He was in Joy FM. He was in GH1. He's been everywhere. And he's a great addition to the Metropolitan Television. The Ignite Media team, I should say. Metro TV is under a media group called Ignite Media. And von Bakustein is now the MD of Ignite Media, I should say. 1 minute to the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. Here is Matthew Adabuga, speaking about expressing his regrets for joining the revolution and speaking about the people who actually benefited from the revolution. Let's just take that one and go to the text message. Later tonight, we're going to take you back to Parliament, where the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams has been speaking to MPs in a powerful prayer session. And then all the people who had been calling me today about what is this Council of State election? Who is being elected? Who is Nono Drolo Adamite, who has been elected as a Greater Accra regional representative of the Council of State? Does the President appoint? We're going to give you the full understanding of Article 89 of the Republican Constitution 1992, where the matters of the Council of State are so clearly spelled out. It comes also with the CI, a regulation that is done by Electoral Commission. By the time we finish the story, you will know everything about the Council of State and why people are there, so that next time you want to go there. We know that many of those who are asking for constitutional amendment are asking for an abandonment of the Council of State because they think the Council of State is a drain on the national purse. They get some money, they get some vehicles, they have an office, they have to work, they do some work. They are the president's advisors. We don't always hear the advice they give to the president, but we see it in dispatches from the president's communication that in consultation with the Council of State, the president has agreed to appoint XYZ to the Supreme Court, XYZ to here and here. Tonight, we'll hear all about the Council of State. Here's a small video of Adabuga. What is he saying? Listen.
It was a sad situation, but the belief was that Amachi Dede say what? Sebebe here, Sebebe Sia, baby. How did they say? Okay. So if nothing spoiled, nothing will become okay. And so for a few people to die for us to get an Ethiopia, whereby there will be milk and honey, I think that that is how we understood it. You see, unfortunately, it was milk and honey for Rollins, the Ahoys, the Hudu Yayas, and the rest. You can see it today. They have just said and loaded and loaded. What about the Nima people? What about
that he talked about?
Yes.
That he showed you?
Yes, they are still the same.
Okay, that was Adabuga. Let's go to the text messages and see what people are saying. Then we come back and take you to Parliament to see the Archbishop Duncan Williams today talking to MPs. Shall I start with Antoinette? Anziba will start then. Hi, Anziba. What are people saying?
Thank you very much, Paul. Our first message is from Wages Alimbo. He says, Paul, can we hear a little about the confiscated gold bars and dollars? It looks as if nothing or little is being said about it by the media. From Francis Adamu, he says, excellent editorial. Akwesi Champon says, Paul, I believe you remember the story of Mauli Goka in Tremejan. They were made to eat their own flesh. You remember the fetish and the transporter known as Yeye Boy. The evil that men do will live after them. Thomas Blaze says, Paul, please, do you know the person that came back from exile and became a minister in Ghana, as Black Rasta was saying? From Tei Okanse, he says, we need more people like Black Rasta in Ghana. They like to speak the truth. From Patrick, he says, we are hypocrites in this country. We fear to speak the truth. Baba Amando says, the Apostle Paul. Theo Ofer says again, Anglo chiefs have misfired big time. Their saint is someone's villain, so they should keep their position while others keep theirs. From Yusuf Abdul, he says, good evening, Paul. You are doing a good job, and you are an asset to Mother Ghana. Please send my warmest greetings to Dr. K.B. Mahama, Member of Parliament for the good people of Wali Wali. Master Planner is saying, Operation Recover All Loot has changed to Operation Clear All Loot. President Mahama, in less than 40 days in office, has dropped criminal charges against his party members without any investigation. The true chief clearing agent has come. He is also snapping General Asiedu Nketiah's appointments list. Lastly, from Kofi Nat, he says, Paul, we need an update on the dollars and the CDs and the gold bars hiding somewhere in Accra. Over to you, Antoinette.
Right, so a lot of people are also talking about the comments made in Parliament about Honorable Senator. Master Planner Jr. all the way from Clinton says Honorable Senator was really encouraging Honorable Mohammed by continuously turning on his microphone whenever it was turned off because he was talking out of order. It was so sad to hear the comment, daughter of a murderer, on the other side. That honorable member was factually correct because what he said was true. It was a way to put Honorable Senator to order as she was behaving unparliamentarily. Now, Kweku Adumo says, Mr. Paul, the comment on Dr. Senator is very unnecessary. Therefore, Mr. Speaker shouldn't waste the precious time off to investigate anything because this is going to spark another unnecessary argument. Good. Samuel Ofosuba says this about the raid in the estate of Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta. He says, concerning the raid, I think history is repeating itself. Like the late Dr. Joseph Boachi Dankwa, who is the doyen of African politics, accepted and invited Dr. Kwame Nkrumah to support the campaign for Ghana's independence. The latter later made a U-turn to the accused and imprisoned the former in the Nsawam prisons till his death. This is exactly what the OSP, Kusi Ejabin, is doing to the NPP's Ken Ofori-Atta. Trust no human, for the assistance you give to a needy today will tend to hurt you negatively. Many have experienced such, so man must be careful of those who redeem them. Yao Febri says this about the comments made in Parliament once again. He says, our history as Ghanaians have been a dismay of life losing by our great-grandparents in the course of bringing development to the doorstep of Ghanaian people. As a country, we've endured and apologized those bad days. Now, moving forward, and a member of Parliament calling and hurting his or her own colleague with such barbaric comments should not be taken for granted and should be taken out of our body politics. Aaron Babako Kokomiso says, we understand the importance of professionalism, decorum, and respect for the rule of law in all aspects of governance. The disruptions that occurred during the ministerial vetting and the comments made do not reflect the standards of conduct that are expected from our elected officials. Now, lastly, Gastiman says, the selective justice and abuse of power of this NDC government is totally unacceptable. Why is everyone looking unconcerned? Such actions set a dangerous precedent for future undermining democracy and the rule of law. It's alarming that the president remains unbothered. Ghanaians must stand against this injustice to protect our democratic values. Now back to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, and let's get on to the next story. The Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams has today been speaking to Parliament. Let's go and get a sense of the video of what happened. Then when we come back, we have Oral also says they have saved 21 billion. And tonight we have the full editorial on the document presented to Parliament by the Honorable Foreign Minister, the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. We're going to have show you the rest of the editorial. Those of you who have been looking at social media, the younger ones, we showed you some of it. We have the full 23 minutes editorial on the questions we asked, the questions we raised, and why we think that the document submitted by the Honorable Foreign Minister to Parliament is grossly insufficient to answer the questions of suspected corruption in his habitation conversation. We're going to do that. It's 8 minutes past the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. Now, though, to Parliament and to the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams. That's what he said.
To acknowledge our need of you, recognizing that we cannot succeed at this Parliament without the God factor being given attention to. And on that note, we give thanks and divine providence. To acknowledge our need of you. I believe that it is not by chance nor by accident that Mr. Speaker sits here as Mr. Speaker and all honorable members of Parliament are here. You are not here because you wanted to be here. You are here because you are summoned by destiny to be here for such a time like this. There is a reason why many are dead and you are still alive. You are alive because there is a duty and a responsibility required of you by your generation and by generations yet unborn to perform a duty to make this country a better place for not just your generation but for your children and your children's children. Today everybody runs to the west, to Dubai and to other places for greener pastures. It is my prayer and desire and dream that in my lifetime and in your lifetime that no son and daughter of this country will queue at any embassy to have a visa in order to seek greener pastures in other land, but that our sons and our daughters will dwell in this country, having an environment that is conducive for progress, creativity, and prosperity, that no son and daughter of this country will be scattered in other nations, but that there will be enough for every Ghanaian and citizen of this country, irrespective of your tribe, your religion, or your political party. I pray that I will see that day in my lifetime come to pass, where all of the sons and daughters of Ghana scattered across the nations of the world that I meet all the time, struggling in other countries without the right document, working and sweating night and day for crumbs, that they will all come back to find greener pastures in their own land, to work with all those in authority to make and to create a better Ghana and a better country. Unity is so critical and required that we need to put aside our differences. We need to forgive the past.
We need to forgive the past. Okay, it's break time now, and when we come back from the... Are we doing the Council of State before the break? Can you check with my producer? Council of State before the break. Okay, I move over to the touch screen and let's explain to you what has happened with the Council of State. The Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams is still on our touch screen. Let's do that very quickly. Papa, good evening. Now, everybody has been asking about this Council of State since it happened this evening, and it's our duty as media to explain to everyone to understand. It's provided for in Article 89 of the 1992 Constitution. Now, let me give you a small background, viewers. The Council of State came about in the Consultative Assembly conversations about the 1992 Constitution to determine whether there should be a second chamber of parliament. What is a second chamber of parliament? A second chamber of parliament is some of those parliaments, as with the United States, with the United Kingdom, or with Nigeria, for instance, where you have two houses, the lower house and the upper house. It doesn't speak to who has more power anyway. It's just two separate houses. Each of them has their responsibility, and each has a domain depending on the matter and the discussion. If it's impeachment of the president in America, the second house, the Senate, has more power than the House of Representatives, etc., etc. So they were thinking about in Ghana that should we have two chambers of parliament, one fully elected and one appointed to represent the society. That means appointed from chieftaincy, appointed from religion, appointed from culture, appointed from elsewhere. Other aspects of the society, the centrifugal forces of this society, must be grouped together and put in the second chamber without election, because as we all know from political science, one of the demerits of the elective principle is that some people who can do political work, some people can do government work, some people who may be extremely qualified by experience and by academic, who can do it, will not submit themselves to election, as we used to say, because of the rough and tumble of elections. So for that reason, some proponents in the Consultative Assembly were suggesting that let's have a second chamber where we will gather some of these people who are very useful for governance but may not be willing to submit themselves to election. Let's gather some of them and put them in the second chamber so that they will have a role to play over legislature. They will have a role to play over the laws. They will have a role to play over the decisions that the parliament, the first chamber house full of politicians will take, because they know that politicians will take decisions according to their political whims and caprices. So let's have a second chamber that will be a check on some of those excesses of politicians, so that something like e-levy comes. One political party says we want it, another one says we don't want it. The second chamber, which is not MPP or NDC, they are not. They didn't go for elections. There is the Asante Hene has two representatives. The Gan Manche is there. The Oche Hene has the Labadi Manche, Yana, Daboya Chief. Everybody's there. Religion, the Catholic Bishops' Conference are there, the Presbyterian, the Charismatic, the Archbishop, the Papa will be sitting there. And then that group of people will look at e-levy and write back to the Speaker that we have considered the e-levy. Please, it's not going to work. Forget about it. Or President Mahama brings the Okada bill to Parliament. The Okada bill comes to Parliament. And then the NDC are pushing the Okada bill. There are 188 people. They are pushing the Okada bill, not so much because they believe in it, but they are pushing it because of a party agenda. Now, the framers of the Constitution, some of them wanted us to create a check on this very difficult situation that can actually undermine the democracy if we are not careful, where you have politicians making decisions on their political whims and caprices. So for that reason, the Council of State was created as a compromise between those who wanted a second chamber of parliament and then those who said we don't need a second chamber. That's how the Council of State was created. How do I know this? It's in the writings of the Consultative Assembly. It's also in Dr. S.K.B. Asante's book. Everybody who has written about the Consultative Assembly has written about this. So yeah, it's not difficult to find. I just read it when I was preparing for this one. So now let's go to Article 89. So what has happened today is that all the regions have elected a Council of State representative. So Greater Accra elects one person, Ashanti one, everybody one. So that's 16 elected representatives of the Council of State. Then President John Dramani Mahama will also appoint one for each region. In Akufo-Addo's days, he used to appoint I believe Samuel Okujeto for the Volta region and Adjei Blankson for Greater Accra and other places. Okay. Now, John Mahama, the president, will appoint 16. And then the law goes on to add a former IGP, a former Chief Justice, etc., etc. The critical question is, who are the people electing those who are elected in Greater Accra, for instance? Who are they? Where did they get them from? Why didn't I go and vote? Why didn't I know that there's vote? I'm a Greater Accra voter. What happened? That's what I'm going to explain now. Let's go to Article 89 of the 1992 Constitution. It begins with Clause 1 that says, there shall be a Council of State to counsel the President in the performance of his functions. Clause 2 says the Council of State shall consist of A, the following persons appointed by the President in consultation with Parliament. So these are the people the President is appointing. Oh, sorry. These are the people the President is appointing. One person who has previously held the office of Chief Justice. One person who has previously held the office of Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces. And then, one person who has previously held the office of Inspector General of Police, the President of the National House of Chiefs, one representative from each region of Ghana, elected in accordance with regulations made by the Electoral Commission under Article 51 of this Constitution, by an electoral college comprising 2 representatives from each of the districts in the region nominated by the district assemblies in the region, and 11 other members appointed by the President. So this is it. Now, who are the people appointing the electoral college? Producer, where do I find that? These are 2 members from the assembly. Okay, so here it is. Regional representatives on the Council of State. Instrument 1993, CI. Regional representatives of the Council of State. In accordance with paragraph C of Clause 2 of Article 89 of the Constitution, there shall be elected one representative from each region as a member of the Council of State. Electoral College. There shall be constituted an electoral college in every region for the purpose of electing a regional representative to the Council of State. Okay. The electoral college shall consist of 2 representatives from each district assembly in the region, elected by the members of the assembly from among themselves. So the electoral college, we now know, is that each assembly in the region, so Greater Accra region, for instance, Nene Drolo Adamite won the elections. Now, where is the electoral college coming from? So in Lejokuku, Crow or Municipal Assembly, where I live, the assembly would elect 2 people. Ladma, those of you who live in Labadi and Chado area, your district assembly is Ladma. You know that many Ghanaians don't even know their district assembly. It's a problem. And that's why we talk about constitutional amendments every day. I'll come to that. Those of you who live in Labadi, your assembly is Ladma. Those of you who live in Osu, your assembly, they are building a place near plus 233. The other day when it rained, it collapsed everything. The Osu people, your place is collapsing. Please, let's get it done properly. So that's Osu. I've forgotten what it's called though. And then there's Ashiedu Keteke, electoral area. They also have an assembly. Then there's Ganorth, there's Gasouth. There's Otublou. They too, they have something there. So each assembly, and the MPs are members of the assembly. The MPs in the Greater Accra region are members of the assembly in their area. So each MP is a member of the assembly. The assembly elects what they call a presiding member. He operates like the speaker. So the assembly is a local parliament, by the way. In local government conversations, the district assembly is a local government, it's a parliament. And the district chief executive is the president. That's the way it works. So if it's a parliament, who is the speaker of the parliament? There's a guy they elect called the presiding member. He's the speaker of the parliament. And it is high time that people who come out of school from universities must start thinking about entering those places to shape policy. Otherwise, we are in more trouble. Why do I say more trouble? Because we are already in trouble. So if we don't start getting that working, where we have slightly skilled, trained young people getting to be assembly members, we are in more trouble. Okay. All right. So that's what happened today. So that's how people got elected today. So that's the Council of State. So let me see whether I have a few questions on this one. And then we get to talk about oral. Why are they showing me this? Is it about oral?
Council of State.
Oh, yes. This is the violence that occasioned at some of the Council of State places. Thank you very much for reminding me. The photograph looks like Menchia Palace. I think it is, yeah. So this was one of the Kumasi one, which was held around the Menchia Palace area. So that will be the Balfour's constituency. A lot of violence. And viewers, I'm going to tell you why I think that there was such... We have never seen such violence around the Council of State before, have we? We haven't. Why are we seeing all this violence around the Council of State? We are seeing this violence around the Council of State because of the expenditure that government spends on the Council of State. Council of State members are going to be given 4x4 vehicles, what do they call it? V8. Yes, four-wheel drive V8. They're going to be given those vehicles. They're also going to be given saloon cars. They're going to be given money. They're going to be per diem. They're going to put them on trips abroad. They're going to have to go abroad. Some of them are going for training, etc., etc. That Council of State, we're going to spend a lot of money on them. That is why many people think that abandon the Council of State in terms of constitutional amendment. Some think it's good. I don't think I've formed an opinion on it yet. As we research, we'll see whether I have an opinion on it. But when you look at some of the members of the Council of State, if they are to work effectively, they could be very useful. For instance, former Chief Justice Georgina Wood is a member of the Council of State. That's a great woman. And she has a lot of insight. She has a lot of experience and exposure. She used to be a police officer. So if such a person on the Council of State is rendering advice to the president, legal advice, I think that it is useful. Because today we are seeing Chief of Staff sort of indicate that the governance ends on December 7th. It doesn't end on January 7th anymore, December 7th. So any action taken by the government after December 7th is a null and void action. There is a Council of State former Chief Justice there. She should be able to look at this and tell the president that perhaps you have to look at this again. So sometimes you look at the Council of State with mixed feelings. The way the Constitution has outlined it, if we implement it that way, it could be useful. But because political considerations override it, many scholars and academics think that Council of State should be abolished under the 1992 Constitution. But let's see what people say. It's 22 minutes past the top of that 10 o'clock. We should be running faster now. Let me hear from you, social media editors. What are people saying about the Council of State? I start with Anziba. Antoinette first.
Right. Thank you very much, Paul. We have a few people talking about the statements made by Pastor Duncan Williams. Yao February says all members of the Ghanaian Parliament should go and meditate about the advice by Pastor Nicholas Duncan Williams of the privileges and grace from God upon them, winning an election and now becoming a member of Parliament in this 9th Parliament. Still on the statements made in Parliament, James Brown has this to say. He says, Paul, I am a very young man in my late 30s, I think he's trying to say, but I remember my grandmother wailing and cursing the memory of Flight Lieutenant Rawlins for crashing her business. She nearly died, as she told me. Till she died, she always mourned her siblings who didn't survive the raids and loots at Makola Market at the command of the same Rawlins. I guess for those who want us to sing praises or force us to slumber on these memories may not have felt the pains of these families. And he has a hashtag, Rawlins is not a saint. Rahman Ahmed says, as the saying goes, those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. I think Senator forgot what his father did to many Ghanaians. Otherwise, she wouldn't be aiding the Honorable Murtala Mohammed to all the pathetic comment. Now, lastly, Okansete says, the truth needs to be told. Even though I dislike the statements made, but the fact is some wrongdoings went on during JJ's era. My family suffered some, but is this matter more important to Ghanaians than food on our tables, quality education, good hospitals and quality services, and the indiscipline in the country? We cannot change the past, but lessons of the past should inform us to make better decisions for the future. No Ghanaian who witnessed what happened in '79, those dark days, would ever want anything like that to happen in Ghana again. Let us put aside all our political differences and unite as one people. It doesn't matter your tribe and religion, and let us build Ghana with truth, honesty, fairness, integrity, and the fear of the Lord. The politicians cannot do it alone. He lastly said that a nation building is a collective responsibility of all citizens. Anziba.
All right. So from Nyoko, he says, Paul, you have taught me history. I never knew our former Chief Justice, Georgina Wood, was a policewoman. From Yao February, he says, when will our leaders go by the rule of law governing Ghana? People are asking how can the president nominate ministers and CEOs to our state institutions without consulting the Council of State Members as stipulated in our constitution for the president's nominating appointees? Richard Opari says, please, this is the RCC and not me and Shia. Tayo Kansi says, it's the nature of the NDC. That's what the current president said. Papa Paul says, Paul, please, any information on the dollars in the container? Lastly, from Samuel Perkese, he says, good evening to you, Paul, and your team. The love is great for you and the work you are doing for the country. Over to you, Paul.
All right, thank you very much. Some people were asking questions about the seized cash, gold bar, and the corruption over there. We have it. After the break, we'll tell you about that. And then we'll put questions to the Honorable Foreign Minister. Congratulations to him, first day at work. But we do have questions for him on what happened with the documents that he sent to Parliament. But we will start with Oral, who have now presented their reports to President John Dramani Mahama, indicating that if everything goes well from their report, 21 billion of stolen state funds during the Akufo-Addo era will be recovered. And that will hopefully reduce Ghana's debt of 50-something billion to 30-something billion. In only 4 years or 8 years, I think Oral has been investigating the last 4 years, maybe 8 years, Akufo-Addo and his cohorts stole 21 billion in various ways. They gave themselves lands in cantonments, they bought houses, they did that, they gave everything Akufo-Addo did. The whole stealing and looting, Oral says, is the value of 21 billion United States dollars. How wealthy are these Akufo-Addo people? After the break, a lot more coming on Good Evening Ghana. We'll be right back.
USA, are you ready? It's the maiden edition of the Campus Run Party, brought to you by Ignite Media and the UPSA JCR. It's happening on Friday, Valentine's Day, 14 February 2025 at the UPSA Hostel C, 5 p.m. prompt. Artists passing through includes Slim Kid,
Clowns in the Sackers,
Mufti, Kenny Eyes, and many more. DJs on rotation on the night: Kelvin DJ, NK DJ, DJ Juicy, and our very own DJ Legend. So come along on Valentine's Day. Let's have a good time. We're partying until Mama calls. Campus Red Party is brought to you by Blue Jeans Vodka Mix. See you on Valentine's Day. Don't miss out.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 across accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
This is my secret. Give us P capsules. Emma, I want to go from now on to me to my ding one pim. Give us P capsules. Overdo as a mama. Oh no, enemy lawyer.
And to lawyer no show bottom. Are you bro? Then I found upon machine babet Siamoa as a Nijian.
What's
No. You nephew, I can't wait. The friend give us cold capsules. Say yes, is Yaren the wall, so cold the do nip a dim when in our posa a mamma and Tima Wunja would name who don't give us cold capsules. Obey your free
lawyer.
Give us cold capsules.
And I give us P capsules.
Hey, and they give us free.
And men what if you do what you do one ever. Give us core capsules. A pin for a batter, one more menu for an inquadawin if you do me no come.
Look around. Home also need a makeover. Mine clearly does. So we went to Ashroom and found the Como collection. It had everything we're looking for and more. Merchant furniture for the entire home, designed with you in mind.
Where's Como collection? Dressing up is just a breeze. Always ready with a perfect accessory.
A magic dressing mirror. One look and you're ready to face the world. Or at least the kids.
A bed perfect for young men who want
a table that turns into a treasure chest.
And finally, a sofa with this grand TV unit for family time at home.
Head over to any Ashphone store now and discover the new Como collection. Ashphone, feel it, know it.
This is Coastal Park, a well-demarcated gated community carved out to host your residential and commercial properties. With a minimum of 40,000 Ghana cedis, you too can own a piece of this serene site.
It's just 50 minutes drive from the Central University College, as well as just some 5 minutes drive from the Ningo Senior High School. More so, just in case you live somewhere in Adam and you want to take that excursion to many of those areas along the Volta estuary, this is the right property for you to invest in.
Great news from Estate Masters Limited. We're running a 10% discount promo on all sites to celebrate our 10th anniversary. Join in the celebration by becoming an Estate Master. Enjoy benefits such as free site visits throughout the duration, free indenture, and free site plan. Contact us for more information. Remember, T's and C's apply. Estate Masters Limited, your most preferred estate partner.
You the answer to my prayer. You're with me everywhere. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need tonight. Give me shelter from the rain. You breathe life in me again. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need to know tonight.
What information do we have about the seizure of the gold bust and all of that? Apparently, it's looking like the story that came which said some of the money was fake and some was not fake. It's not quite true. Apparently, all of the money is fake. And all of the gold too is fake. 16-footer containers of that money. So we asked them that, why would somebody bring all that fake currency into the market? Is it usable? And they said, no, you can't change. Even the most basic forex bureau will be able to tell that this is fake dollars. But this is what they do. When they bring the fake dollars in, according to the story we got, they sell it to you. So they sell you 2 million fake dollars for 20,000 correct dollars. Because are you following? That's a very interesting story I got last night. So I asked the person who knows these things that I'm going on TV tomorrow. Give me some information. What is this thing about, this gold thing? Is it NDC or MPP? That was the point of my inquiry. Is it NDC or MPP? And then they said, it's not NDC or MPP. I said, are you sure? They said, some LIGB has run away. They said, no, it's not that. I said, but it's not that. So where is the money? Is it going to Bank of Ghana? What has happened? And then they said, but which money? The money is fake. And I said, it's fake how? It says 100% fake. And I said, 100% fake is saying, I don't get it. What about the gold? They said, the gold too is fake. I said, what? How do they do it? They said, well, this is what they do. These criminals bring this money to places where the governance system is a bit loose, so they choose an African country. And they were not lucky. Ghana's governance system is quite strong. That's why they were caught. So they go to Mali, Niger, and they have all of this money. Okay. And so they would have taken some from Ghana to those places, Niger, Mali, Libya. On the journey to Libya, you are giving somebody dollars. You are jumping the boat. The people who give people space to travel on the boat to go to Spain, they will give you that dollar. You think you are bad. You think you are cheating your boat. You don't know that you go, the dollar is fake. So they use it for all those kinds of maneuvering. They use it for armed robbery. They use it to bribe police when they are traveling with maybe some drugs on the highway, and the policeman stops them. They give him $20,000. It's fake. The policeman doesn't know that it's fake. You take it home and give some to Adjoa Mansan. Adjoa Mansan will go to the Forex Bureau and she'll be arrested. And they'll say, I said, police ni. That's what happens. So this is how they use the money. So if you are also a banker, and apparently Ghana has a very stringent system with the back room of bankers. I'm not a banker, I don't know. Those who are bankers can confirm that when you look at the banking hall, behind you, what you, the customer, don't see, the amount of security there is massive because of all of these things. And this is required for international regulation. So if the international banking system comes to Ghana and we don't have that, they will rate our banking system lower. This is the story. So what they do with those banking system that is loose, they give a banker $100,000. That's a lot. No matter be how much? 10. Yes. They give a banker that's $100,000. Yeah, and then sorry, viewers. And then he takes it to the bank. Then he takes it to the vault and takes proper 100,000 and puts this 100,000 there. So today he's cleared 100,000. Then they are dealing with 25 bankers. So one day, 2,500,000 has come. Tomorrow we continue. In 2 weeks, they've cleaned it up 700,000. But you can only do that if the system is weak. And it was explained to me that this is why the back room of the banking system is so brutally locked, proper, so that it helps the regulation. So every bank in Ghana is required to do that at the banking system to provide that security. In fact, recently they were also told to provide certain armored car bullion vans, you remember. So the regulation system is good. So they were not lucky. The suspicion, therefore, is that once they brought the money to Ghana and they noticed that Ghana's systems are tight, they kept it in the warehouse, hoping to move it further north. And the 4 of them are still on the run. The police are yet to give more information about that, but they say they're on the run. So I was interested because I thought it was political. I was told that it's not political at all. If you have a question about that, this one you can send it to our social media editors. But Oral is in charge, aren't they? Let's go over to the touch screen and deal with Oral. Yeah. Oral people, most of them are my very good friends. So I refer to the Deputy Director of IOCO. Congratulations to the Honorable Oral Member Raymond Acha, whom I know very, very well. Okay, President John Dramani Mahama has presented Operation Recover All Loot Oral Committee's report to the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. The Honorable Dominic Ayini was there to take the report. But the report is fascinating, isn't it? Let's read it. President John Dramani Mahama has presented the Operation Recover All Loot Committee's report to the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dominic Ayini, marking the next phase of the committee's work. This move is part of President Mahama's efforts to combat corruption and recover misappropriated state resources. This is a photograph of the members of Oral. From left to right, President John Dramani Mahama. Next to him, Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who was chairman of Oral. Next to him, Deputy Director of IYOKO, Raymond Archer, who was also a member of Oral. Next to him, Martin Pebu, a seasoned advocacy human rights lawyer who is being touted by members of the NDC to be nominated onto the Supreme Court. Next to him is Daniel Domelevo, former Auditor General who was appointed by President Mahama after the NDC had lost the election after 7 December 2016 into office as Auditor General. Today, the Chief of Staff says the government's mandate ends on the 7th of December. That is going to be a very, very interesting matter once it gets to the court. That the Chief of Staff is suggesting that the government's mandate ends on 7th December. Daniel Domelevo here, where is the photograph? Daniel Domelevo here, who became Auditor General, was appointed after President John Dramani Mahama and the NDC had unfortunately lost the 2016 election. So we live to see how these things shape up in this democracy. Okay, so this is the president. I like his gonja smoke and the coloring of it. Quite beautiful. This is the president receiving, handing over the Operation Recover All Loot document to the learned Attorney General. And this is what I thought was missing. COP Kofi Boakye, how are you? This, you see, what the first photograph, my producer too, why is he punishing me like, So when I looked at this photograph, I thought there was something missing. Now the thing has come. This is the oral chairman. Okay, the chairman is a black one, but the real chairman is COP Kofi Boakye. But is he standing at attention? Viewers, let's try and understand Kofi Boakye. Oh, but if President Mahama could have appointed a former high-ranking police officer as IGP, is there any rule against that? Mr. Producer, check the law. Is there a rule against a former COP who has retired being appointed as IGP? Check whether there's a rule against it. I doubt whether there will be a rule against it. Maybe it's an idea for NDC people who like Kofi Boakye. Maybe it's an idea for the police people who like Kofi Boakye. Maybe it's an idea. I hope the law, there's no rule against it. Also, I don't know whether you can also appoint a military person to become the Inspector General of Police. I think there's no rule against that. So you can appoint a military 3-star general to become the Inspector General of Police. But I don't know whether you can appoint a policeman to be CDS. No, that you can't. But you can also appoint a policeman to be the head of fire service. Yes, you can do that. You can appoint a military man to be the head of fire service. Today, an army officer has been appointed as the head of Gapoha. Viewers, so this is the thing I was talking about on As for Example. Next time, police officers will be appointed as Temawe Refinery boss. Policeman who has supported a party will be appointed as GMPC boss. Let's check it. Military brigadier is now Gapoha boss. That hasn't happened in a very long time. This is the military Rawlings time they used to do that. All the Gapoha MDs have been seasoned professionals from the system. Now they've appointed a military man there. Tomorrow a policeman will be appointed at GMPC. Tomorrow we have to be serious. But I'm interested in the rule whether the former IGP, a former police COP who has retired can be appointed as IGP. If that were so, and Kofi Boakye was qualified, it could be a good idea if the president doesn't want Dampare. So the most fascinating thing about Oral is that they are suggesting to us that the total loot that they have found is $21 billion. Oral could retrieve $21.9 billion from stolen assets. I don't know how this sounds, but it sounds to me as completely ridiculous. $21 billion is going to be retrieved from where? Who has $21 billion that he stole in the 8 years and most likely the 4 years of Akufo-Addo's era? Akufo-Addo and his appointees, Ghana's total debt stock. Producer, do you have that information? Ghana's total debt stock is 48.1 billion. Now, this is Ghana's debt stock since Nkrumah's time, since Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in 1960. Ghana's total debt stock is 48.1 billion. The Oral report is suggesting that in the last 8 years, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, his appointees and his friends and his government and his party have occasioned to this country through looting a loss of 21 billion, almost half of the total national debt accumulated since the Nkrumah era. This sounds at the least completely ridiculous. But let's see what happens. What do we have to say? Martin Pebu then comes up and says that oral crimes. Martin Pebu chokes over whether NDC members are involved. So a question was asked to him whether this crimes they found at oral, it's just MPP members or it's NDC members, because that question is begging to be asked. That Akufo-Addo and his appointees have occasioned to Ghana a loss of 21 billion United States dollars through looting. Whatever looting means, Akufo-Addo and his appointees have occasioned to Ghana 21 billion loss. Ghana's total debt stock is 48 billion since Kwame Nkrumah's time. 48 billion. But over the last 8 years, the president and his party and his government and appointees have looted nearly half of Ghana's total debt stock. Anyway, now I think the oral people deserve congratulations. So I did a montage for them. Oral, this is another story. Majority of cases need auditing to confirm wrongdoing. I mean, viewers, I mean, we are all Ghanaians. Should we be taken for granted like this? After all the propaganda about oral, Dom Level goes on an interview in City FM, and they ask him that, what is the veracity of the findings? What is the veracity of the findings? And to that question, he says that the majority of the cases need auditing to confirm the wrongdoing. So no wrongdoing has yet been confirmed. So this 21 billion they are talking about, is it in the air? Is it in the sky? Is it a hoax? Because this is Dom Level being asked the veracity of their claims, then says that there's another leg for us to travel to come to the conclusion that these wrongdoings have actually been committed. That's what he's saying. That whatever we have submitted to President Mahama is not the end. There is another leg to travel. If you know that what you have given to President Mahama is a suggestion, it's an idea, it's a plan, and that there's some leg to travel to confirm, then how do you come to the conclusion that there's 21 billion to be taken? Or are you suggesting that if the confirmation comes, then there's 21 billion? But that's not communication you have to give to the public, because you have to wait and see what you can get. Otherwise, tell us that if confirmation comes, there will be 21 billion. If confirmation doesn't come, there will be 2 billion. If half confirmation comes, there will be 16 billion. Something like that. All of which will look like a banded, ridiculous photograph. Anyway, let's congratulate them because they've done work for Ghana. Okay, so on behalf of the viewers and without much ado, congratulations to the Honorable Foreign Minister. Congratulations to the Deputy Director of IOCO. Congratulations to Martin Pebu, the presumptive Supreme Court judge. Congratulations to Daniel Domelevo, who is still doing hale and hearty and working for Ghana. Congratulations, the ultimate, to COP Kofi Boache. To them, I give them an NDC montage under the umbrella. Congratulations.
Arise for Ghana, oppression of the land, forward and seek your future, development our goal, from vision to big, the NDC shall lead, Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from vision to big, the NDC shall lead, Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity. unity. Stable democrat. Ghana, our strength in unity.
What are people saying about what we've been doing so far? And we're going to have Alassane Bello come and explain to us. We will suspend the Otukujeto Ablakwa conversation until Thursday because it's longer than the time left. But Alassane Bello can do justice to the topic. If you stay on our Facebook page, you'll get all of this information again and again and again, even before we come on Thursday. Stay on our Facebook page. Please follow the page. It's Good Evening Ghana Official on Facebook. Good Evening Ghana Official on Facebook. Click the follow button, follow us, and we'll give you all the stories from the oral. All right, Antoinette first or Antiba first? Antiba, what are people saying?
Thank you very much, Paul. From Emmett P, he says the oral didn't call any witnesses, conducted no investigations, but has an estimated amount lost to the state. We are an unserious country. From Yao February, he says Kofi Boakye is always at he's always at security points, irrespective of the people around him. From Yao February again, he says beautifying the works of oral as a strategy by the government to tell Ghanaians that the past government and its officials had misappropriated and corrupted public funds has sparked a lot of disagreement within the people. We want to know the amount recovered by the oral committee for the government and the NDC party jubilating over because we Ghanaians are not seeing the importance of the committee. From Augustine, he says the oral was set up to disgrace the former NPP party. Nothing more, nothing less. They cannot recover even one Ghana cedi empty. Okay. So from Solomon, he says the COS has outlived its usefulness. The election should be scrapped and then the appointment section should be maintained. Lastly, from Nana Boakye, he said, how is Zenato enjoying the benefits of Rawlings' atrocities but refusing to accept the consequences? I saw when Zenato was stuck on the branches of a tree when her father was teaching her how to parachute. Over to you.
Yes, so some people are not really pleased that Paul is congratulating the oral. Richard says that the oral does not need any congratulations since it seems to be a populist agenda. Nana Kwejo says, surprisingly, the oral couldn't get information on double salary scandals. Ghana is indeed going on its knees. Now, concerning the check of the veracity, Samuel Afenyo says there must be auditing to check the veracities. That is why, or that is where the Attorney General is now allowed to do proper investigations and prosecution. He thinks so. Nana also says, I think the reset oral committee by the NPP should target all Nkrumah's factories which has been sold to NDC and pastors to convert them into auditoriums. They should retrieve all the monies from the PNDC's account number 42. The recent ambulance and Airbus money, not forgetting Sedinam Tamaklo's Maslog monies. Additionally, the discontinuation of the 7 high-profile cases by the current AG with just a few days in office. This seems very suspicious. Now, lastly, Nana Owusu says 21.45 billion is a joke, it seems. Oral is a scam, and it's worse than Nukujitu's so-called tenancy agreement. Now back to you, Paul.
Okay. We had to realign our programming, so on Thursday we'll continue with the rest, but we'll put it on our Facebook page for you to see our tumultuous challenge of the Honorable Foreign Minister's documentation before Parliament will be coming up on that occasion. Let's go to the touch screen now and ask Alassane Bello whether the military regime in Burkina Faso should be worried about recent developments. How are you, Bello?
Fine, man.
How was your Christmas?
Very interesting.
And the New Year?
It went well.
You voted in peace?
Sure.
Were you part of those who went to disrupt the counting?
No.
Do you have friends who went there to disrupt the counting?
Well, the voting went peacefully in my area.
The counting.
The counting.
Which area? Where is your area?
Medina.
Oh, Susu, Medina. Oh, that was a landslide, so it was quite peaceful. Yeah. So there was no disruption there.
No.
Okay. All right. Why is some Ghanaians are fighting in insurgency hits Burkina Faso? What's the latest in Burkina Faso, though?
Yeah, I think the government is also trying to secure the country, but then the insurgents have been resilient and relentless. One attack after the other. And they don't just attack civilians, now they're also going after the military and its allied militias.
Oh, so the insurgents are just in town attacking people?
No, around what we call the tri-border zone, around this area is where they are very active. That's where the borders of Mali, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso converge.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And around that place, they seem to have control a lot of territory.
What you put in dark brown is controlled by those people?
That's where they are very, very active. They are mostly active.
Oh, but that comes way into Burkina Faso, almost to half.
Yeah, so as you can see, cut across Mali.
Where is Ouagadougou?
So Ouagadougou is somewhere around here, I think in the middle, somewhere here.
Oh, I see.
But then what we should be concerned about is that once it is highly concentrated here, there are sporadic attacks around areas that is closer to our borders.
Sporadic attack from all the way in Burkina? So
far, they've not been attacking the capital.
They've not hit Ouagadougou yet?
Yeah, I think the last time Burkina was hit was somewhere 2023. That's where the Ouagadougou.
But what are these people looking for, the insurgents? Are they a counter-government? What are they looking for?
Yeah, historically, some of these areas have enjoyed some semblance of Islamic administration in the past. So I think there's that nostalgia for the past administration. Looking at the fact that...
but that's a long time ago. Historically, the Mansa Musa era, that was Islamic, massively Islamic. So it has been. And then coming down to the colonial era and then the advent of Christianity and African traditional religion and all that, then you got some... But Burkina, Mali, Niger is still largely Islamic.
Yeah. And that's the issue. You see, there's always...
So they want an Islamic government. I'm saying they've not had an Islamic government for a long time.
Yeah, for a very long time.
And the current generation should not remember an Islamic government.
No, if you look at the post-colonial state,
yes,
it has largely failed to meet its obligations in Africa.
That's post-1960.
Yeah, since independence, the aspirations of the people have not been met.
Yes, generally,
and then when you go to the Francophone countries, due to this policy of assimilation, there's a divide between the educated elites who end up being Christianized against a chunk of majority who, for the fear of changing their faith, retained their identity and their Islamic, religion and avoided Western education. So if you look at a country like Senegal, which is over 90% Muslim, their first president was actually a Christian, Leopold Senghor. That should bring some kind of, a message. But because these people, once they accepted Western education, they were detached from. So in those countries, they've been divided between what the majority, which is mostly not Francophile, as against the elite who are Francophile. But specifically in Ghana, this adds to the litany of reports about the activities of the jihadists within our territory. So if you look at this is the latest report about 3 Ghanaians who fought. But their justification, one of them was that, the border is drawn arbitrarily after the Berlin conference. So some tribes are cut in between.
Yes, absolutely. Same with Ghana.
Yeah, so he said
Volta region,
one of his brothers was killed by the Burkinabe military. So that was his motivation. And then analysts have said several times.
This Ghanaian talking.
Yeah, per the report.
Yes, that one of his brothers at the other side has been killed.
Yeah. So for him, the fight was the fight for justice, by his understanding. So he was not moved by any religious, And then secondly is that, analysts and many experts have said that at the lower rank, the rank and file of these jihadist groups are mostly motivated by either socioeconomic reasons or security reasons. Is that you are either a prey or a predator. And it's best to be a predator than a prey. So some of them join this group. It's only at the higher echelon that you have these religious ideologues. But then prior to this, there was a report where in Sisela district, that together with Ghana and the Burkina Faso, were in hand of some suspected militants that crossed into our territory. And also, there was a time that this report from Reuters said that this is even a recent one, that the militants were using Ghanaian territory as a logistic base to regroup, resupply themselves.
Ghanaian territory would mean northern Ghana?
And northern Ghana. So Reuters released the report. It was picked up by local, including Joy, City News, I think, at the time. But the later national security debunked the whole thing. So this now tells us very important thing that our northern borders are very porous. So our tax is now cut out clear that whether we like it or not, we must have some interaction with Burkina Faso, either for our own national security reasons or the need to protect, our interests, which include opportunity for investment in those countries. And then this takes us to the, to the point when Mahama invited, Ibrahim Traore, there was this large, outcry that, yes, he was inviting a military leader whilst Ghana believed in democracy. I think this now sends a clear justification that, yes, that was the right call, in as much as it contradicts our belief in democracy. But it's calling our own national security interest to have good relationship with Burkina Faso so that we can be able to reap the benefit of the Accra Initiative, which is built around intelligence sharing among the party countries that include Ghana, Togo, Burkina Faso, and I think Nigeria also. And then appointment of Bevlolati as a security envoy now makes sense that we really need to have some interaction. But then interestingly, whilst Traore is a Muslim, one may ask, then why are they fighting him?
That's the point.
Yeah. Burkina Faso is largely a Muslim country. But like I said, because of the policy of assimilation, at the elite level, you have mostly Christians. So if you look at the U.S. Department of State, in their assessment, I think 2003, about 63.8% of Burkinabes are Muslims. So the question is, why will you be fighting in this country? Because
Muslim majority.
Because most of the victims to be, Muslim.
Yes.
That leads to interpretation and understanding of the religion. And that's where the issue of this Islamist, fundamentalist, moderate come into being. But I put all those things in bracket. Because, yes, we may vary in our interpretation, but within the Islamic tradition, we have an internal mechanism for debate, dialogue, and understanding. But the whole idea of labeling, name calling, or whatever, is just born out of Western misunderstanding or neo-colonial understanding of the whole thing. Because, for example, when is in the Christian Europe, attacks that would have been probably, let's say, terroristic in nature, will be dropped far-right extremism, not terrorism.
Yes, but the divisions among the Islam that is highlighted, albeit by the West, Sunni versus this and that and that. Is it an imposition or a nomenclature imposed by the West on the religion, or it comes out of the scholars of that religion? People call themselves Ahmadi Muslim. Then somebody says it's Sunni Muslim. Somebody asks, the Iraqi Muslims are Shiite, who are they? Does those nomenclature divisions not come out of the Islamic scholarship?
The sectarian division come out of Islamic scholarship. I'm a Sunni, for example. We know the Shias.
Is there an original rivalry in that sense? Sunni and Shiites? Is there an original rivalry?
Initially, after the death of the Prophet, the dispute was more political historically. Along the line, it became theological. But we understand that difference, the sectarian differences, and it's been with us for ages.
Does it occasion war, physical rivalry?
It occasions some form of hostility.
That's a hostility,
but
is the
not
right word.
as sharp as it is. In instances where it has become very sharp and volatile, is when you factor the issue of Western colonialism, Western interference. That's when it becomes very sharp.
Are you suggesting that because we know of the Catholic wars that were fought, Catholic fought Protestants in war just based on theological divisions of the same Jesus Christ gospel? Are you saying that because the colonialists had that kind of history, when they came down to interact with Muslims, they sowed those seeds? Is that the suggestion?
They saw an opportunity for divide and conquer, divide and rule. So by so doing, they amplified that division. But I'm talking about the naming of this is a moderate Muslim, this is moderate Islam. That is devoid of sectarian, identity.
But that's anthropological more than colonial.
That is devoid of, the sectarian identity that we are accustomed to, that we know.
I agree with that.
So that labeling itself. So for example, if you talk about, let's say...
so a non-moderate Muslim is a fundamentalist Muslim. That's it.
That is the problem. Why is
that a problem?
There is nothing moderate or fundamental. Islamic rules are clear. It's either you are disobeying the rule or you are abiding by the rule.
That's very sensible.
For example...
But you are beginning to sound like a fundamentalist.
No. For example, with the issue of veiling for women.
Yeah.
Islamically, it's compulsory. So for me as a person, I wouldn't deny the fact that veiling is compulsory. But if you choose not to veil, I leave it to your God. But that does not make me a moderate Muslim, the fact that I won't react.
That makes you a fundamentalist.
No.
The fact that you will not, you will keep the veil on. The fact that you see one who doesn't do the veil as breaching the rule.
But the rule is clear, the veil. So breaching the veil means you break the rule.
Yeah, there's modernization. So the reasons for the rules, maybe the reasons for the rules had something to do with the ecosystem of the time and where they lived and where the prophets lived and where Aisha lived. It may have something to do with that. If scholars get to understand that and then illumination comes, and then 1,000 years later, we are not in that circumstance anymore, we can then allow so Christians, for instance, they don't allow women to wear pants, trousers. Over many years, it's changing. So would you say those who insist, like the Deeper Life Christian Ministry, they insist on a lot of things. You can't wear earring and all of that. They insist on those things. Something the Catholics used to insist on, but 500 years later, the Catholics don't insist on those things anymore. So the fundamentalist is the one who insists on the rules.
So now, do we say that the Deeper Life are Christian fundamentalists or Christian extremists?
Christian extremists.
That is quite a fallacy.
Why?
Because if the rule says A, okay, it is A. So if you fail to abide by the rule, you are breaching the rule. So if I tell you are breaching the rule, I haven't done anything wrong. But the question is, if I force you, that's when I'm abusing your right. So I'm saying that the whole idea of trying to label people into moderate, fundamentalist, extremists, and whatever, all those kind of things, is what creates the problem.
I'm getting you a little bit.
You get the issue.
How is that connected to Burkina Faso?
So now I'm saying that, so now if majority are Muslims, data also show that most of the victims will obviously be Muslims.
Yes, correct.
But what I'm saying is that the reaction, so those things are a reaction.
So you're saying that the lack of unity among the Muslims fighting the Muslims is as a result of the labeling of some as moderate and some as fundamentalist?
One thing that the failure of the post-colonial state fueled that resentment towards the colonial state. One. Secondly, the overbearing influence of France might have served as a rallying cry for those extremists. So some are moved, like the guy who was moved just by the need for justice. He felt that his brother was killed by the excesses of the military. So there's a need for him to react. Then I also feel like the post-colonial state have not lived up to expectation. So it is not worthy of supporting.
Yeah.
But then to lump everybody together into, what do you call it, a whole box of Islamist extremists becomes problematic. For example, if you look at the Sahel itself.
You are still not answering the question why the Muslims are fighting the Muslims and they are asking them to impose Islam. You are jihadists who fight for the imposition of Islam. You are fighting a Muslim community that are already Muslim.
Yeah.
You are fighting them that you should impose Islam. They are already Muslims. So it means that the kind of Islam that you want them to practice is different from the Islam that they are practicing. Therein comes the labeling moderate and fundamental.
Their fight is against the state and not against Muslims.
And the state is led by a Muslim.
The state is led by a Muslim.
But they want Sharia.
But it is not governed
by Sharia law.
By Islamic principle. One, it has not even lived up to its social contract.
Which is,
I mean, one, provision of security.
Okay, the political social contract. Okay.
So for them, such a state is not worthy of defending. That is one. And so they could also be.
So what kind of state are they advocating? Sharia state.
So the nostalgia here is that, okay, in the pre-colonial state, when some form of Islamic government was enjoined, they saw the relative tranquility and security that exists. So that's why you have that rallying cry for something similar. But the case will have been that if the post-colonial state have lived up to expectation, perhaps the argument will have been probably.
You have the point. So they are asking for theocracy.
A theocracy. Okay. But then the means to which they ask for theocracy is quite a bad means. But then also there are historic, what do you call it, antecedent. If you look at it, we need to make a few segregation. That in Mali, for example, the recent fight was dominated by Islamists. But the whole root of the fight dates back to 1960. The Tuareg have never accepted. They resisted French colonial rule. Post-independent, they never accepted the southern dominance of Mali. So for them, it is not about whether the Malian state is being led by a Muslim or a non-Muslim. It's the fact that
the Southerners should not dominate Mali.
Yeah, they feel like the Southern dominance is nothing but a perpetuation of the French
colonial rule.
So until we address that socio-political divide between the North and the South in terms of development, in terms of political representation, whoever comes to campaign against the state be it an Islamist or a non-Islamist, would definitely gather support.
But it's not slightly unrelated, but you have to then blame the policy of the early presidents, because Ghana would have been the same. And Kwame Nkrumah did well to deliberately initiate policies in education, for instance, free education in the north and all of that, to try and close the gap. Because even till today or till very recently, the northness will still see the southness in Ghana as a perpetration of the colonialism, the kind of names they keep, their lifestyle, the conduct, the religion, and all of that. But because of Nkrumah's policy of free education in the north and looking at one Ghana and all of that, that was diminished, completely diminished in the Ghanaian context. Yeah. I would think Nigeria is the same. Nigeria too has had that very well diminished. So it will be to blame the first presidents of Mali and those countries who were not able to create policies that will diminish the.
I don't say that because there was a historic division. The whole assimilation created a Francophile elite who were far detached from the reality of their people and their daily aspiration. And the fact that there was overbearing hand of France through the France-Afrique.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments. Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Are you ready? It's the maiden edition of the Campus Run Party, brought to you by Ignite Media and the UPSA JCR. It's happening on Friday, Valentine's Day, 14th February 2025 at the
should be a wake-up call to those security personnel protecting our borders concerning the activities of those terrorists. Anziba.
Oral Isofotoni says, military rule is never very educative. From Sibawi Ahmed, he says, there is nowhere in the Islamic teachings that says veiling is compulsory among male Muslims. And lastly, from Yao February, he says, this is a very interesting conversation. Over to you, Paul.
Okay, viewers, that's it for Good evening, Ghana. Today we're back on Thursday. It's always a pleasure coming your way. Thanks for watching.